Morning folks, Nigel here from Excellent Books. Winnie is with us, Mo's with us. I'm going to talk about True Grit. I've done a right lot of reading since I come out of hospital. Why is it surgeons have all got hands like spades? They all want to have a good old rummage, don't they? But anyway, you've got Win, who's the star of the show with best pal Mo. So, this is one of the books I read over the weekend. Charles Portis, True Grit. Let's get into it. I took notes this time. So, I mean, it's been made into 2 films. It's a really well-known book. I know there are people out there that haven't read it, but I'm not that worried about giving too many spoilers away. I don't normally like it, but I think for a book like this, so famous, sit down there, lovey, not sit on me, that's so famous, it don't matter, does it? So, Charles Portis died in 2010, born 1933. It's first made into a film with John Wayne and Katharine Hepburn. Band's just digging in. There we go. In 1969. She's a right actress, Katharine Hepburn. She's a bit of alright. But anyway, then in 2010, the Coen brothers made, hold on, I've got my dates wrong. I think Portis died in 2020. And the Coen brothers made their film with Jeff Bridges, Matt Damon and Hallie Steinfeld of True Grit. And to be honest, I like that. I haven't seen it yet. I'm going to watch it this afternoon. But from what I remember of it when it came out, I right enjoyed it. So what is it about? It's a revenge story, basically. Proper revenge story. Now, there were some good points in it, and there were some bad points in it. What are you two staring at? There's no there. Note there, lovey. Yeah, I know. Stay there. And I'll get to the bad points at the end of it. They're not bad, they were just... Anyway. So the story is of a young girl called Mattie Ross. Her father goes to buy some horses. He's a big rancher, and he goes to buy some horses up in Fort Smith, Arkansas. While he's there, he takes one of his what do you call them, cowboy cowhands. Just he's a drifter, this geezer, and because Mattie's dad is quite nice, he takes pity on this bloke. Have a drink of you, tits. And he takes him with him. This geezer, Tom Cheney, he gets drunk, loses a lot of money, gambling, storms off. Matty's dad goes to find him and gets shot in the head, trying to smooth everything. This loser, Tom Cheney, does a runner, and it's the ensuing story of Matty Ross trying to get her vengeance. Now, Matty Ross, she's the narrator, but you don't know until the end of the book that it's done, lay down, Win, from an old person's perspective. She's an older woman, and that explains a lot, because she's obviously 14 years old, very straightforward, very hard talking, no sense of humour at all, out for revenge. And I think she came across to me a little bit too hard for a 14-year-old girl, but I'm imagining them from these times, and I had to keep putting myself back into the times when this book is set. But I found it quite odd that some of the horse dealer, some of the other characters in the book would tolerate being spoken to by a 14-year-old girl who's quite slight. You know, they'd just fuck her off, basically. They would do. In a roughneck town, south Fort Smith, Arkansas, which is described as quite a roughneck town. She walks into the square and there's 3 hangings going on. So it's quite a frontier, and it's on the edge of the Indian Territory, so it's quite a rough setup. Anyway, I will read you some excerpts because there's some hilarious bits. She goes to the sheriff, who's the toughest lawman here. I want to hire him. He gives her a list, says there's 200 of them. There's a tracker. There's this geezer called Rooster Coburn, and he recommends her another one anyway. Rooster gets the job. He's got one eye. He's fought in the War of Independence, I think. He's been a cowhand. He's been a train robber, which comes out at the end of the book. He's pretty much the borderline between him and the people that he's hunting for the law is blurred. He's a rough old character, but he gets the job done in the end, and the sheriffs are happy, so she goes and hires him. He's quite a poor role model for this young woman, in my opinion. But anyway, they agreed to go the next morning out into Indian territory. Although he's got his reservations, he agrees to take her. Lo and behold, that night, a Texas Ranger comes to the place where Matt is stopping. He's right suave, he's got a calf lick haircut, big spares, big gun. Is the epitome of the Texas Ranger of the time. Le Bioff, but it's pronounced Le Beef. So anyway, Le Beef and Rooster end up teaming up to catch the killer Tom Cheney, who has already killed a politician. That's why the Texas Ranger's after him. He's a slippery customer. Now, they set out on the trip, and at one point they have to accept that Matt is with them. And there's a scene in the book where, because she's quite hard-nosed and ain't got a filter, she annoys this Le Beef, and he drags her off her horse, gets a little branch, a whip, starts pulling her trousers up and starts whipping her legs. Where she looks at Rooster and she's struggling and fighting with him, but she can't. She's a 14-year-old girl, quite slight, and he's a Texas Ranger. He's a rough and ready geezer. And she says, are you going to let him, she shouts, are you going to let him do this to me? Well, Rooster says, no, that's enough. Him and Le Beef have a contretemps. Rooster pulls out his gun and says, give it a rest now. Give it a rest. He does, but the scene's set. Can he really be trusted? That's what I thought. In a pinch, in a tight space, could this Le Beef be trusted to look after Matty and watch Rooster's back? And it's always a bit. So anyway, they go out, the track. Hello, darling. Yeah, you scared them off proper, didn't you? Don't know. Stay there, good girl, with your massive trotters. So they go on the trail. Now this Tom Cheney has teamed up with a notorious group of individuals who Rooster has had a run-in many times before. Yeah, he has, darling. He's had a proper run-in. He knows these geezers. And they're going to meet up, let's stay there, in a cabin. Now, there's two individuals in this cabin. A gunfight ensues. They go in, all three of them, and they start quizzing these roughnecks. One of them decides to spill the beans. He's sat too close to his partner, and he chops his fingers off, stabs him in the ribs just before Rooster can shoot him. Now, young Matty, she's obviously been she's educated. Although she's lived on a ranch, she's been quite protected by her father, and she's sprayed with blood from this bloke's fingers, and it's quite a harrowing moment for her. But she gets over it. They end up in a shootout, and with Lucky Ned Pepper, the leader of the infamous gang, and original greaser Bob. What a name. But anyway, they ride off. They make their escape. So they're backtracking him. But Rooster knows where the hideout is. So on his trip of the day, he's getting proper ailed up. And they end up stopping in this overlook, and he reckons he's about 2-3 miles from their camp. Well, next morning Matty goes down to the river and to get some water, and she's confronted by Tom Cheney, who's also watering the horses in the bottom of this really steep valley. Now it's all coming to a climax now. Lucky Ned Pepper, there's she shoots him in the side. The bullets ensuing. Lucky Ned comes down, stops Tom from killing Matty, takes him up on the ridge, shouts across to Rooster, "Do one or the girl will get it." Well, and Rooster and Le Beef go. So she's left on her own in this hideout with her father's killer, a notorious train robber, killer, roughneck, cattle thief, everything, Lucky Ned Pepper and his gang. Now, Lucky Ned, he's got some morals. He says in it, "I've never capped a woman, I've never capped a kid, but you can be me first if you don't do what I say." So he's willing to shoot her, you know. Anyway, she worms him over in the end, and they make a go of it, and she is left with Tom, her dad's killer, in this, it's like a little cave with a front waiting for him to come back. In the meantime, Rooster and Beef have done a double take. There's a big shootout, and the Beef recaptures Tom, and at that point everything's gravy. But they look down into the valley bottom to the prairie between the trees, and they see Rooster, Lucky Ned and his crew. Rooster can't go through them, but there's a little bit earlier where he talks about that if you've got no choice, you've just got to go psycho and ride through it, and one man can scare an army. I'll read that passage to you. And he does, he makes a beeline, gets the reins in his mouth, 2 of his guns out, a big shootout ensues, and he kills 2 of them, wings Ned. Ned shoots his horse, takes a dive, Rooster's trapped under his horse. Oh, hell's gone, everything's gone to shit, basically. Le Beef comes up trumps in the end. He's got a Sharps rifle. When I was in America, I looked these rifles up, and they're like a buffalo hunter's rifle, really long barrel, good sights on them, and he's a crack shot, it turns out. He gets positioned 800 yards away, pow, he shoots Lucky Ned, saves Rooster, all's gravy. But in the melee, Tom is escaping. He's got escape on his mind. He hits Le Beef on head, knocks him out. In the confusion, Matty falls down a hole, a little like a crack in the rocks that they've already said has got a pit full of rattlesnakes. She rattles down it, comes to, she's broke her arm, she's wedged in this fucking hole. Can't get out. Tom's awake. Beef shoots him, so he's dead, but he can't rescue Matty. He passes out again. Rooster comes up in the end, just as she's about to fall into the very bottom of this pit with the rattlesnakes. Hello, darling. With the rattlesnakes. Everything comes right in the end. She's saved. Yeah, she gets her revenge. She goes back, and the story is then enlightened as an older woman who's never met Rooster since, and he's in the Wild Bill roundup. So she makes a beeline to him, but he's already dead, as she finds out. So that's the whole story in a nutshell. Brilliant, well written. The action scenes are good. The characters are good. LaBeef is the exact opposite of Rooster. Matty's got no sense of humour, so how she interacts with him is quite funny. But would they let her get away with it? That spoiled it a little bit for me. But you've got to think it's an older woman who runs her own business, has made her own money, is quite famous, writing this, memoirs basically of this time. So has she stirred it a bit? Who knows? So the first bit. So Matty, is talking to the sheriff, asking who's the best man for her to hire. Who's the best marshal they have? This is Matty. The sheriff thought on it for a minute. He said, I would have weighed that proposition. There is near about 200 of them. I reckon William Waters is the best tracker. He's a half-breed Comanche, and it's something to see, watching him cut for sign. The meanest one is Rooster Cogburn. He's a pitiless man, double tough, and fear don't enter into his thinking. He loves to pull a cork. Now L.T. Quinn, he brings his prisoners in alive. He may let one get by now and then, but he believes even the worst of men is entitled to a fair shake. Also, the court does not pay any fees for dead men. Quinn's a good peace officer and a lay preacher to boot. He will not plant evidence or abuse a prisoner. He's straight as a string. Yes, I will say Quinn is the best they have. And Matty says, where can I find Rooster? You set the scene. He's a pitiless man, double tough, and fear don't enter his thinking. Whereas all the others, straight shooters. This other geezer won't plant evidence and he'll bring his men in alive. So that already tells you what Rooster's like. But Matty's decided, you want to catch a killer, you hire a killer, don't you? You hire a bit of a roughneck. She's got it going on up here. I really like that. And it's early in the book. Early, so you're setting a picture, even if you aren't seen the movies, of Rooster. Next bit. Let me find it. So Rooster's shacked up when he's in town with a Chinaman, and Matty's there to make a deal with him. And you can imagine the Chinaman in his outfit, he's running a shop. So he's made some food for them both, and they sat at the table. So this is Rooster Matty's talking about. He ate with a spoon in one hand and a wadded up piece of white bread in the other, with considerable soppage. What a contrast to the Chinaman with his delicate chopsticks. I'd never seen them used before. So you've got, it's another picture of Rooster, you know, he's all animal. Just eating is, get it done, man. And it's another insight into Matty, this. She's obviously well educated, she can read, write. I think she's been protected quite a lot. She's not had much interaction with men, especially like Rooster. But this is an absolute class line here. Class couple of sentences. So they're back in the room, and Rooster's got a cat they call Sterling. The brindle cat, Sterling Price, was curled up on the foot of the bed. Rooster coughed and spat on the floor and rolled a cigarette and lit it and coughed some more. He asked me to bring him some coffee, and I got a cup and took the Eureka pot from the stove and did this. As he drank, little brown drops of coffee clung to his moustache like dew. Men will live like billy goats if they're let alone. Men will live like billy goats if let alone. It just goes to show that this young lass has got no interaction. And it's true, you know, even today, blokes are a little bit rough, especially in this time. I've had a big beard down to here. And when you're drinking, you're always wiping and eating and everything. So it would have been a bit of a trick to her for that. But that made me smile, that one little piece. You know, as he drank, little brown drops of coffee clung to his moustache like dew. Men will live like billy goats if they're left alone. Oh dear, great stuff. Great line. Great line. Anyway, I'm not going to read you that last little bit. I'll let you find it, where she's trying to sleep out in the open and Rooster's talking to her all night, and he's just whispering to her because they're laying in ambush. But it's a brilliant little quote. Anyway, I'm going to hold it there. It's been nearly 30 minutes. True Grit by Charles Portis. Great book. Classic Western. Stay gorgeous. Keep reading. Wipe the coffee from your tash. And I'll see you in the next one. Ta-ra, folks.